Welcome, the Spicy Lady. Most people spend years trying to understand others, yet avoid the one person they will live with forever, themselves. What if I told you that the hardest test a woman will ever face is not found in a classroom, a workplace, or a relationship? It is found in the quiet moments when there is nobody to impress, nobody to blame, and nowhere to hide from the truth. The SpicyLady-Sigma test is not about being perfect, fearless, or different from everyone else. It is about something much deeper. It is about self-awareness. It is about how honestly you can look at your own choices, habits, emotions, and beliefs. Many women believe they know themselves well, but the moment they are faced with uncomfortable questions, the answers reveal a completely different story. This is why so many people fail this test instantly. Not because they are weak, but because true honesty is far more difficult than most realize. It is easier to point out the flaws in others than to confront the patterns that may be holding us back. In this video, we will explore powerful questions and eye-opening truths that challenge the way you see yourself. Some may surprise you. Others may make you uncomfortable. But each one has the potential to reveal something important about who you really are. Make sure you stay until the very end because the final test may be the most revealing of all. And understanding it could completely change the way you view your life, your decisions, and your future. If you enjoy this, subscribe for more. Like the video and comment your thoughts below. Your support keeps this going. Now let's begin. 1. Can you walk away from an opportunity that violates your principles? This question becomes real the moment life stops being theoretical and starts offering you something you actually want. Because most people do not lose their values in dramatic ways. They lose them quietly in small decisions that feel justified at the time. An opportunity appears. It looks good on the surface. It could be money, attention, status, convenience, or even a shortcut that saves time and effort. Nothing about it seems obviously wrong. In fact, it often feels like luck finally showing up. But then there is that small inner hesitation, a detail that does not sit right, a condition that feels slightly off, a compromise that asks you to bend something you normally would not bend. This is where the character is revealed. Many people talk about principles until they are tested. When pressure arrives, principles start sounding negotiable. They tell themselves stories like, "It is not that serious," or "Everyone does this," or "I will fix it later." Slowly, what they once said they would never accept becomes something they are willing to tolerate. A SpicyLady-Sigma sees this moment differently. She understands that not every opportunity is worth accepting, even if it looks beneficial. She knows that what you gain externally can sometimes cost you internally, and that internal cost is often more expensive than anything money or success can replace. For example, imagine being offered a career deal that brings fast success, but requires dishonesty or compromising your values. Saying yes might bring immediate reward, but it also creates a quiet tension inside, a sense that something important has been traded away. Walking away, on the other hand, may feel difficult in the moment, but it preserves self-respect in the long term. This is not about perfection. It is about alignment. Because every time you accept something that violates your principles, you slightly adjust your internal standard, and over time what once felt unacceptable can start feeling normal. That is how values are slowly rewritten without notice. The real test is not whether opportunities come to you. They will. The real test is whether you can recognize when an opportunity asks you to become someone you do not respect and still have the strength to say no. Because in the end, success that costs your integrity is not success at all. It is simply a trade you will one day have to reckon with. 2. Can you accept that some people will never like you? This is a quiet truth most people only learn after years of effort, disappointment, and emotional exhaustion. No matter how kind you are, how careful you behave, or how much you try to adjust yourself, there will always be people who simply do not like you. Not because you did something wrong, not because you failed, but because human perception is not always fair or logical. This is where many women get stuck for a long time. They start shaping themselves around acceptance. They soften their opinions so nobody gets uncomfortable. They adjust their personality depending on who is watching. They overthink every message, every word, every reaction. Slowly, they begin to measure their worth through how well they are received by others. But the problem is simple. You cannot control how every person interprets you. Even the same action can be praised by one person and disliked by another. One group may see confidence, another may see arrogance. One person may see honesty, another may see attitude. If your peace depends on universal approval, you are entering a game you can never win. A spicy Lady Sigma understands this early. She learns that being liked is not the same as being respected. Popularity often requires adaptation, but respect requires consistency. One changes depending on the room, the other remains steady regardless of it. For example, imagine a woman who decides to set clear boundaries in her life. Some people will admire her for it. Others may dislike her because it limits their access to her time or energy. If she tries to please everyone, she will end up unclear, inconsistent, and drained. But if she stays aligned with her values, she may not be universally liked. Yet she will be respected for her clarity. That is the shift. Not from connection to isolation, but from approval seeking to self-respect. The truth is, trying to be liked by everyone often leads to being fully understood by no one, not even yourself. Because in the process of adjusting for acceptance, you slowly lose track of who you actually are. The moment you accept that some people will never like you, you stop wasting energy trying to fix perceptions you were never meant to control. And that is where something powerful happens. You begin to choose alignment over approval, peace over performance, respect over popularity. Not everyone will like you, and that is not a problem to solve. It is a reality to accept. 3. Can you spend a weekend alone without feeling empty? Silence exposes what noise hides. Most people only discover what they feel when everything around them becomes quiet. During the week, life stays loud. Messages, routines, distractions, conversations, plans, there is always something pulling attention outward. But when the weekend arrives and the noise fades, something unexpected happens. The mind begins to speak more clearly. For many people, silence does not feel peaceful at first. It feels uncomfortable, almost like something is missing. They reach for their phone without thinking. They turn on a video just to fill space. Not because they are bored, but because stillness feels unfamiliar. This is where self-awareness begins. A spicy Lady Sigma understands that silence is not empty. It is revealing. When there is nothing to distract you, your thoughts, emotions, and patterns start to surface. What you avoid during busy days often appears during quiet ones. For example, someone who constantly seeks social validation may feel restless when alone. Not because being alone is bad, but because they are meeting parts of themselves they usually ignore. Another person might feel anxious, not because solitude is harmful, but because they are not used to their own company without distraction. A weekend alone becomes a mirror. It shows how comfortable you are with yourself without performance or reaction. Can you sit, eat, think, and exist without needing constant input? Or does silence feel like something must be fixed? The truth is, solitude is not the problem. Avoidance is. When you cannot sit with yourself, you are not afraid of loneliness. You are afraid of what loneliness reveals. A spicy Lady Sigma does not fear this moment. She uses it because she knows that a strong mind is not one that depends on constant noise, but one that can remain steady even when everything outside becomes quiet. 4. Can you admit you were wrong quickly? Weak people protect their ego. Strong women protect the truth. This is one of those moments that quietly exposes character in real time. When you are proven wrong, what happens inside you first? Do you feel the urge to explain, defend, or soften what just happened? Or can you pause long enough to accept it without turning it into a personal battle? Most people struggle here, not because they do not understand the truth, but because admitting it feels uncomfortable. It can feel like losing status in a conversation, losing face in front of others, or losing control of how they are perceived. So, instead of simply acknowledging the mistake, they begin building small arguments around it. They adjust the story, add context, or shift responsibility without realizing they are doing it. But the truth does not change just because it is inconvenient. A spicy Lady Sigma understands that being wrong is not a threat to identity. It is information. It is feedback. It is part of growth. She does not treat correction as humiliation. She treats it as clarity. For example, imagine a situation where she confidently gives advice to a friend about a decision. Later, new facts come out that show her advice was not correct. Many people would feel the need to justify their original position, maybe by pointing out what they thought at the time, or why it made sense then. But a different response is possible. She can simply say, "I was wrong about that," and adjust her understanding without turning it into a long explanation. That moment carries more strength than most people realize, because quick honesty requires less ego protection and more self-trust. It shows that your identity is not fragile enough to collapse just because you made an error. Ironically, people respect those who correct themselves quickly more than those who try to appear right all the time. Not because they are perfect, but because they are real. The real test is not whether you are always right. It is how fast you are willing to align yourself with the truth when you are not. And the strongest women are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who refuse to stay loyal to them. 5. Can you say "I don't know" without feeling small? Pretending to know everything is often a sign of hidden fear. Wisdom begins where pretending ends. This question reveals something most people never examine about themselves. When you are asked something and you do not know the answer, what is your first instinct? Do you feel calm and honest? Or do you feel pressured to sound certain even when you are not? For many people, saying "I don't know" feels uncomfortable. Not because the phrase itself is difficult, but because of what they think it represents. They connect not knowing with being less intelligent, less capable, or less respected. So instead of admitting uncertainty, they try to fill the gap with confidence that is not fully real. They guess. They explain. They speak faster. They add extra words. Sometimes they even convince themselves they might be right, just to avoid the discomfort of being uncertain. But pretending to know everything comes at a cost. It blocks learning. It creates pressure. And over time, it builds a quiet fear of being exposed as imperfect. Yet, the truth is nobody knows everything. Not even the most experienced or knowledgeable people. The difference is that some people are honest about it, while others are not. A spicy Lady Sigma understands this clearly. She does not see "I don't know" as a weakness. She sees it as honesty. If she is unsure about something, she says it without hesitation. Not because she lacks intelligence, but because she values accuracy over appearance. For example, in a discussion about a topic she has not fully studied, instead of pretending or giving a half-formed answer, she simply says she is not certain and is open to learning more. That response does not reduce her credibility. In many cases, it strengthens it because it shows she is not performing knowledge. She is engaging with truth. There is a quiet confidence in being able to sit with uncertainty without panic. It means your self-worth is not tied to always having the correct answer. It means you are comfortable being in the process of learning rather than pretending to already be at the end of it. The strongest minds are not those that always speak with certainty. They are the ones that are not afraid to pause, admit a gap, and grow from it. 6. Can you face your own contradictions? The hardest opponent is often the woman in the mirror. Most people analyze others while avoiding themselves. This is one of those questions that becomes uncomfortable the moment you answer it honestly, because most people assume they are clear about what they want: freedom, success, love, peace, respect. These words sound simple when spoken out loud, but when you look closer, you often find two different motivations living inside the same desire. You may think you want freedom, but part of you might still want approval. You may think you want wealth for security, but also enjoy the attention it brings. You may believe you want influence to help others, but also notice how good it feels to be seen as important. These mixed intentions are not unusual. They are human, but most people avoid looking at them directly. It is easier to study other people's contradictions than your own. We notice when others act differently from what they claim. We see when someone says they value peace, but constantly create drama. We recognize when someone says they are confident, but act insecure. Yet when the same level of honesty turns inward, it becomes harder to apply. A spicy Lady Sigma does not avoid this reflection. She understands that clarity begins with honesty, even when it is uncomfortable. Instead of rushing to justify her choices, she pauses long enough to ask what is actually driving them. Not what sounds good, not what looks acceptable, but what is real underneath the surface. For example, imagine someone working tirelessly towards success. On the surface, it looks like ambition. But when she slows down and reflects, she might realize part of her drive is not just personal growth, but also the desire to feel validated by others. Recognizing that does not make her weak. It makes her aware. And awareness changes direction. Because once you see a contradiction, you are no longer blindly controlled by it. You can adjust, you can realign, you can decide which motivation you want to lead your actions and which ones you want to outgrow. The hardest opponent is not the world outside. It is the version of you that speaks in different directions at the same time. And the strongest women are not those who never have contradictions. They are the ones who are willing to face them without looking away. 7. Can you keep your standards during hard times? Principles are easy when life is comfortable. Character is revealed when pressure arrives. Pressure does not create character. It exposes it. This question only becomes real when life is not going your way. It is easy to talk about values when everything is stable. When money is coming in, when relationships feel smooth, when doors are open and life feels predictable. In those moments, your standards feel strong because nothing is challenging them. But hard times change the environment completely. Suddenly, comfort is gone. Options feel limited. Emotions are heavier. And decisions do not feel theoretical anymore. They feel urgent. This is where your standards are tested in a very real way. Do you still hold on to honesty when a shortcut would solve the problem faster? Do you still choose self-respect when lowering your boundaries would make life easier in the moment? Do you still stay aligned with what you believe in, even when pressure is pushing you toward compromise? A spicy Lady-Sigma understands something important here. Hard times do not give permission to abandon yourself. They only reveal whether your principles are real or only spoken when life is easy. For example, imagine someone going through a difficult season financially or emotionally. There may be opportunities that offer relief, but require bending values that normally feel important. In that moment, the decision is not just about survival. It is also about identity, because every small compromise can slowly shift what you accept from yourself. This does not mean life is simple or choices are always easy. It means awareness matters. A strong person does not lose themselves just because circumstances are uncomfortable. They adapt. They problem solve. But they do not erase who they are in the process. The real strength is not having perfect conditions. It is staying consistent when conditions are imperfect. Because hard times do not last forever, but the way you act during them can shape how you see yourself long after they are gone. And in the end, standards are not proven in comfort. They are proven under pressure. 8. Can you be completely honest about why you want what you want? This is the ultimate spicy Lady-Sigma test. This is where self-understanding becomes less about motivation and more about truth. Most people believe they already know why they want the things they want. They say they want success, money, influence, love, or freedom. On the surface, these goals sound clear and meaningful. But if you slow down and look deeper, the reasons underneath are often mixed and sometimes even contradictory. You may think you want success for independence, but also notice how much it matters when others recognize it. You may think you want wealth for stability, but also feel the pull of what it says about your image. You may think you want influence to create change, but also enjoy the feeling of being seen and respected. None of this automatically makes the desire wrong. It makes it human. But the problem begins when people refuse to be honest about it. Because when you are not clear about your real motivation, you can end up chasing things that never fully satisfy you. You achieve what you thought you wanted, but still feel restless. Not because success failed you, but because you were not fully honest about what you were actually seeking. A spicy Lady-Sigma understands that clarity is more powerful than appearance. She is willing to ask uncomfortable questions about her own intentions, even if the answers are not perfect or flattering. For example, if she is pursuing a goal, she does not only ask what the outcome will give her on the outside, She also asks what feeling she is trying to create on the inside. Is it freedom, peace, validation, control, or belonging? That level of honesty allows her to adjust her direction instead of blindly repeating patterns. This kind of reflection is not about judgment, it is about awareness. Because once you see your true motivations clearly, you are no longer unconsciously driven by them. You can refine them. You can choose differently. You can build a life that is not just impressive on the outside, but aligned on the inside. The ultimate test is not whether your goals sound good to others. It is whether you can sit with the truth of why you want them and still choose to move forward with clarity instead of illusion. 9. Do you feel valuable when nobody is watching? Many people unknowingly rent their self-worth from other people's attention. At first, this sounds like a simple question. Most people answer yes without even thinking. But if you sit with it for a moment, it becomes much harder than it seems. Think about it. How much of your mood depends on what happens outside of you? A compliment can lift your spirits. A message from someone you care about can brighten your day. A post that gets attention can make you feel noticed. There is nothing wrong with enjoying these things. The problem begins when they become the main source of your self-worth. Many people unknowingly hand over the keys to their confidence and allow other people to decide how valuable they feel. On days when attention comes easily, they feel important. On days when it does not, they start questioning themselves. A SpicyLady-Sigma learns a different lesson. She understands that attention is unpredictable. Some days people notice you. Some days they are too busy dealing with their own lives. If your confidence rises and falls with every compliment or reaction, then your self-worth is standing on shaky ground. Imagine spending weeks working toward a personal goal. Nobody applauds. Nobody notices. Nobody even knows about it. Do you still feel proud of yourself? Or does the achievement suddenly feel smaller because there was no audience to witness it? That question reveals more than most people realize. Real confidence is not built when everyone is cheering for you. It is built in private moments. It is built when you keep your promises to yourself, even when nobody is keeping score. It is built when you continue growing, learning, and improving without needing constant recognition. The truth is that the strongest sense of value comes from knowing who you are when the spotlight disappears. Because if your worth only exists when others can see it, then it was never truly yours to begin with. 10. Can you disappoint someone without feeling guilty? A powerful woman understands that every meaningful decision will eventually disappoint someone. This is one of the most revealing tests of emotional maturity because it forces you to answer a difficult question. Are you living your life based on what is right for you or based on keeping everyone else happy? Many women grow up believing that being kind means always saying yes. They learn to avoid conflict, smooth things over, and make sacrifices whenever someone is unhappy. Over time, they become so focused on protecting other people's feelings that they forget to protect their own peace. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every meaningful decision you make will eventually disappoint someone. If you choose your own path, someone may disagree with it. If you set boundaries, someone may feel excluded. If you stop tolerating disrespect, someone may accuse you of changing. If you decide to put your own well-being first, there will always be people who preferred the version of you that put them first. The real test is what happens next. Do you immediately feel guilty and abandon your decision? Or can you accept that disappointment is sometimes a natural part of life? A SpicyLady-Sigma understands something that many people learn far too late. Someone else's disappointment does not automatically mean you did something wrong. For example, imagine a friend constantly expects you to solve their problems. Every time they call, you drop everything to help. One day, you decide you can no longer carry that responsibility. They become upset. They may even accuse you of being selfish. The easy option is to give in and return to the old pattern. The harder option is to remain kind while standing by your decision. That is where true strength appears, not in being cold, not in being uncaring, but in understanding that kindness and obedience are not the same thing. The wisest women know that if every decision keeps everyone happy, they are probably abandoning themselves somewhere along the way. Growth often requires disappointing others. The question is whether you have the courage to do it without carrying guilt that does not belong to you. Sometimes the healthiest word you can say is no. Final words. Clarity is not found in comfort. It is revealed in honesty. At the end of this journey, the SpicyLady-Sigma test is not really about women at all. It is about awareness. It is about how willing a person is to look at their own thoughts, choices, and patterns without hiding behind excuses. Most people fail these tests instantly because life has trained them to react instead of reflect. They defend themselves quickly, justify their habits, and avoid uncomfortable questions. Not because they are incapable of truth, but because truth can feel heavy when it challenges long-held beliefs. But the real shift happens when you slow down and observe yourself without rushing to protect your image. When you can admit when something feels off. When you can question your own motives. When you can accept that growth sometimes means changing your mind, your habits, and even your direction. This is not about being perfect or above others. It is about being honest enough to evolve. If you have followed every question in this series, you may have noticed something important. Each one points back to the same place, you. Not the world around you, but the way you respond to it. Because in the end, strength is not about how you appear to others. It is about how clearly you can see yourself when nothing is distracting you from the truth. Thank you for watching and God bless you.